What's up, y'all? It's me, your boy Asmongold, and today I'm going to give you guys a preview of the new Timewalker dungeons that are going to be added in 6.2. First dungeon we're going to be looking at here is Shattered Halls, and after that we're going to look at Ahn'kahet, the Old Kingdom, just to show you guys a Burning Crusade heroic, and after that a Wrath of the Lich King heroic. Now, first question I think a lot of you guys probably already have is how to queue up for these. Well, if you go to your group finder tool, how you queue up for like a random heroic or anything like that, and you click the drop down menu and it says specific dungeons, and then you get the list of all the dungeons. Scroll all the way down, and it's got all the Timewalker dungeons at the bottom, and like the Shattered Halls, Ahn'kahet, the Nexus, etc. And if you click on one of those, select the role, and then click Join Queue or whatever, it actually queues you up, and you can do one of these. And this is was it April 23rd? And so as of April 23rd, this is able to be done on the PTR right now. If you guys want to test this out for yourself. Now, a lot of the dungeons don't actually drop loot, and I found that Shattered Halls is the only one that I've done. I think I've done 7 or 8 of them, and Shattered Halls is the only one that's dropped loot for me. And so you guys probably want to. I don't know, might want to wait if you're trying to actually see what kind of loot they drop. But anyway, I'll show you guys the loot that I got from this dungeon throughout the dungeon as we go through it. Now, another thing that I do really want to say is that this is a very infant state or whatever of the Timewalker dungeons, because obviously you're not even, I don't think you're even probably supposed to be queuing for these. And so a lot of the values, like the critical strike and stat values, scaling values, have not been adjusted properly, and I know that for certain because I have like twice as much crit in a Burning Crusade heroic than I do in a Wrath of the Lich King heroic. But I do think that these will be extremely easy to do because you are able to queue for them with the group finder. That's how it's going to be set up, and I know that anything in the group finder is basically a guaranteed success without really any expectation of wiping, like LFR, random heroics. All that stuff is very, very easy to do. And so anything that is in the group finder, you are able to pretty much kill like without really too much of trouble, or like clear or whatever. And so I wouldn't really expect these to be very difficult, which I am kind of disappointed in that there isn't like a very difficult version of these. But I'll talk about that in a little bit. I do want to talk about what you're scaled down to. Now, you're scaled down to, in a Burning Crusade heroic, you're scaled down to item level 95. And 95, I think, is the item level that Kel'Thuzad at level 40 Nax, level 60 Nax, 40-man Nax, dropped. And I do also believe that that's also the item level that Saffron dropped as well, but I'm not entirely sure on that. Anyway, so obviously this is like one expansion behind the gear. This is the top level gear, and ironically it's the exact same, not the exact same, actually very close to the same with the Wrath of the Lich King heroics. Wrath of the Lich King heroics, you're scaled down to item level 160. And to put that into perspective, the Wrath of the Lich King heroics used to drop item level 200 gear, and the Sunwell instance dropped item level, was it 154 gear, and Kil'jaeden dropped 164, so like Thordial is item level 164, and so this is item level, this is gear that is lower even than the Burning Crusade gear, and so just so you guys know, and I guess have a perspective for like what you're scaled down to. And obviously, even though you're still able to clear this very quickly, back then you didn't really have sustained AoE abilities. Almost all strong AoE abilities back in Burning Crusade, and even Wrath of the Lich King had a fairly long cooldown. Even Whirlwind had a very long cooldown. It had like 8-second cooldown. And also, I don't think it did, well, it did more damage, but at the same time, obviously 8-second cooldown is kind of a lot. And look at that. See, there's the boss. Boss is already destroyed. And so there's the first item that I got. Like, I saw it just for a second. I didn't even know. Figurine of the Colossus, which ironically was the main item that I'd wanted to see the Timewalker version for, because I used to always use this whenever I was level 70 and even level 80 to heal myself through things when I was AoE taunt or tanking. And so anyway, it does scale up after you leave the dungeon. It will scale up to 640. And so 640 gear really isn't that good, which is another disappointment that I have in this with the Timewalker dungeons, is that 640 gear, there's a very small window of people who will be incentivized by getting 640 gear. If you guys also didn't know, today it was announced that the naval missions will be dropping item level 6, not dropping, but rewarding item level 640 gear as like kind of default gear, and also in Tana Jungle, you'll be able to run around and just kill rares for 650 gear. And so I'm worried that the Timewalker dungeons will be outdated before they even come out. And so I do hope that they make a more difficult and a better incentivized version of these Timewalker dungeons, where maybe the mobs either have more health or players are scaled down even more, which is actually what I would prefer. And so anyway, I am kind of disappointed about that, just because I do want to see the longevity of these things occur. And there's another piece after that, so shoulders. And so this will be a really good way. Like, let's say if you are And that's another thing, is that these will only be available basically like once a month, depending on which, if it's Wrath of the Lich King or the Burning Crusade ones. And so they'll only be available like once a month. And I think that, I mean, like if you don't really get your, I mean, you can get your character to 650, probably your 645 at least in patch 6.2 and probably in afternoon. And once the patch gets closer to, I guess, like completion, I'll give you guys a guide, and hopefully I'll have that out before the patch even comes out, just to show you guys what to expect and how to do that. But the main reason that I'm kind of bringing that up is that this is gonna, these are, I don't really see the point in like making the item level so low and making a dungeon so easy that there's almost no incentive for people to go in here except for nostalgia. And honestly, guys, even I would say like the rate at which we're clearing this is very similar to the rate at which my guild cleared this in full Sunwell gear post patch 6. Sorry, not 6, 3.0, and that was the what do you call it? I guess like the original, not original, the pre-patch for Wrath of the Lich King. Sorry, I was like trying to think of like how to put it. And at that point, I think everybody's damage was almost pretty much doubled. And so even then, like, this is about the same speed. And honestly, it was probably even, we're clearing it probably even faster than that. But I do think that once everything is scaled down correctly, it will be about the same speed. If you're doing it with a group that knows what they're doing, it will be about the same speed as a tier 5 to tier 6 gear group will clear at least the Burning Crusade heroics, and the other one's probably TOC to ICC geared for the Wrath of the Lich King heroics. And so I do think that that is probably the only thing that's really disappointing me, is that the dungeons, I think, are, they kind of, there's the epic item, by the way, and the epic item is the exact same item as the blue items, and that was kind of weird. I don't know if maybe they mean to make those like 660 or 640, but I hope that they do. And there also is going to be a daily quest or some sort of a daily event where you do a we call it a quest, and the quest will reward you with an upgraded time level or timeless piece, kind of. I think it's like 680, or I'm pretty sure it's a 680 piece for doing your first timeless dungeon of the day, or a Time Walker dungeon of the day. And all the loot pretty much besides that is the same. I don't know if that's intended or not, but yeah, I mean, all the loot in here, the Time Walker loot is going to be 640, and I have reason to believe that the loot from the Wrath of the Lich King heroics is going to also be 640, because I saw a data mined Red Sword of Courage, which is the drop from the King Yemron in the last, who's the last boss in Utgard Pinnacle. And so I do think that 640 will be the item level for all of this gear, and I do hope that they either increase it or just, if nothing else, what I really want to see is a more difficult version of these heroics, just because, of course, I want to be able to go back. If you guys didn't know, like maybe, I mean, a lot of people, Burning Crusade was a long time ago, and so a lot of people probably didn't play back then. Burning Crusade heroics used to be extremely, extremely hard. You would need to have groups that were able to CC and, all this other stuff. It was very, you need to have a very specific type of group. Like a DPS warrior pretty much didn't even have a spot in one of these heroics because they didn't have a CC. And just because tanks could only tank like 1 or 2 of these mobs at the same time. And, to go back and just face roll through it. And I think that the idea really here, I mean, like, let's be real. The idea here is really, it's kind of like a fan service nostalgia thing for old players to go back and I guess like relive their glory days. And there it is. By the way, I'm so glad that I showed this. There it is. That's how I queued for them. You go to specific dungeons, and it's down there at the bottom. And even though they're grayed out, you're still able to queue for them. And here's the Ahn'kahet, and honestly, our damage is about the same because, as I said before, the scaling values for the Burning Crusade heroics, I'm pretty sure, were definitely not finished, and maybe even the Wrath of the Lich King dungeons. The Wrath of the Lich King dungeons seemed very, very similar to my my stats at level 100, and so I would expect to think that the Wrath of the Lich King heroics are much more similar to, I guess, like what to expect from the Time Walker dungeons whenever they come out, but the Burning Crusade ones not so much. I did this with a pug a while ago, earlier today, and we actually did wipe on one pack whenever we, I think we pulled this pack exactly right here, and I think too many spiders got pulled and everybody died, and so that was a little bit of nostalgia because that would happen all the time back in Wrath of the Lich King, especially in this room, because those spell flingers would just, like that attack there, right there, that you have to interrupt and it takes forever to cast, it would do like your entire health bar basically until you got into raid gear. And so anyway, I do want to say one more time, just to kind of I guess have some stuff to say while we're going through this, because mainly, honestly, guys, I just wanted to show you guys the footage, and I'm just kind of adding my own commentary over it. But anyway, yeah, I'm happy to see this. I'm definitely like, this has been something that I've wanted to see for a very, very long time, and I do hope that they implement some sort of, I guess, like I might have kind of like a video about this of what I think would be like really cool. But I do hope that they add some sort of like time walker progression on like maybe the old raids or something like that. I would have a lot of fun with that, and you know, I think that there are a lot of ways that they could implement that that would be very, very I guess like fun and engaging for people. But yeah, I mean, a lot of this stuff is, you know, it. I just don't really see like why a lot of people are going to go back and do this. And also, you can only queue for these dungeons. There's going to be like apparently 7, uh, like holiday or weekend events, and they're going to be rotated through. And 2 of them are going to be the Time Walker dungeons. Obviously, one of them is going to be the Wrath of the Lich King Time Walker dungeons, and the other one is going to be the Burning Crusade ones. And so the other 5 events, I don't really know what they are, but the one thing that I do know is that having these dungeons that have these kind of, I mean, like, let's be real, mediocre rewards, and you can only do them once a month at best, and you know, then they might drop the gear that you need. One thing that is good that I did get a lot of gear out of these, and so at least you can be pretty much guaranteed to get more gear. I got more gear out of these than I usually would from a heroic whenever I did Shattered Halls, and that might have just been my experience, but it seemed to be kind of the way it was for everybody else in my group too. So anyway, guys, I do hope that you enjoyed all the you know, the Time Walker dungeons. I haven't seen anybody else putting out any content, any of the Time Walker dungeon videos before, and probably because not a lot of people know how to queue for them. And I kind of just figured it out, and because I saw somebody posting on the forums about it, and that's kind of what led me to, I guess, like try and figure it out for myself. But anyway, guys, so again, if you want to queue for these, go to the Dungeon Finder tool, and specific dungeons, scroll all the way down. It'll have all the Time Walker dungeons, and you can just select whichever one you want to queue for and just queue up. And so anyway, guys, that's pretty much all I got. I hope you enjoyed, and thanks for watching, and like, comment, subscribe.